Metal Gear Solid 4 Integral Podcast. Broadcasted from Konami HQ in downtown Tokyo, it's the world-renowned Metal Gear Solid 4 Integral Podcast.
Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to episode number 6 of the MGS4 Integral Podcast. Once again, I am Sean Icestone, and I am here with Aki Saito.
Hi everyone.
And producer Ken Imaizumi.
Hello everyone.
Okay, so, Aki.
Yes.
Where are we today?
We promised to meet up at the Eastern Europe stage.
Right.
And basically, Sean, what are we going to do today?
Okay, so today we're going to pick up in Eastern Europe, and this is right after the cutscene ends where Snake comes out of the train station. And we're going to play the section where you're following the Resistance member through Eastern Europe and trying to find the Resistance hideout.
However, to make it interesting, I know that everyone has cleared this stage already, basically.
Right.
Yeah, more or less. So this time, we're going to try to be as like tour guides of the stage.
Yeah, kind of pointing out different parts of the town and, what happened here, what went into making this part of the town. Interesting things to see around the MIDTOWN area. So it might be a little bit tricky because we will not be following the Resistance member.
Yeah, we'll make sure we'll update where we are.
Yeah, exactly. So
what we're talking about.
So people will have to follow instructions very closely this time because it is very easy to get lost here.
Okay.
The roads are very complicated.
All right, Sean, let's get started then.
All right. Okay, so first thing you'll notice is the atmosphere here. You'll notice all this mist, a slight drizzle coming down from the sky. Also the sound of the train in the background. This is all intended to recreate kind of like a, like a spy movie type of atmosphere.
Yeah.
Where, it's kind of dark.
Bourne series.
Right.
The MI series and things like that.
Rainy, and people may not even notice at first, but if you look very closely, you can see that it's not just mist, but there's also drizzle, rain drizzling down from the sky. And if you point the camera upwards, those droplets will actually stick to the screen. It is water falling from the sky. It's not just a simple mist effect.
Kojima Productions is really famous for this water effects on the camera.
Right.
The raindrops on the camera. This is a really cool feature.
There's also something that happens with this drizzling rain that I'll point out a little bit later.
Okay.
But for now, I guess we can continue on. One other thing that I want to point out is that aside from this rain, you'll notice the sound of the train in the background. There's a story behind this. We wanted to have this station in here, right? And originally, we were going to have actual railroad tracks in the town to kind of show the trains coming and going. But the problem is that, if we have railroad tracks here, then Snake could actually get onto the tracks. And, for various reasons, that was pretty inconvenient because, the player could follow the tracks to who knows where, and it wouldn't really be a good impact on the gameplay. We still wanted to recreate this feeling of being at a train station, but somehow do it without having the actual train, on the screen. And so the sound team came up with these wonderful sounds that really just recreate the atmosphere of being at a train station.
Do you want to talk about the sound
of the crosswalk?
Yeah, clicking sound.
Well,
we spent a long time to get that sound.
Yes. Well, actually, was it Ken that you said that there is a identifying sound of a crosswalk, which is so different to even other European areas, but this one location that he said he heard.
We went to Prague, and we heard the sound, and that's very different from the Japanese one.
So he came to our division and said, I need this sound. Can you get a hold of this sound? And, staff, which is an echo, went crazy. What's a big deal about the sound? But Ken said, no, I really want the sound. We want to put this in.
Hideo said, he wants to have that sound. And then sound team said, what sound? What kind of sound was it? So I said, tick, tick, tick kind of sound. And the sound team said, I don't get it. I wanted to have something, like a real...
Just something to refer to get this real, realistic sound.
Kojima Productions do a lot of crazy things.
Yeah.
She just went over to get the sound. She did other things as well, just to hand deliver something or things like that. All these miracles that happened. Really is reliant on these people flying over just for a night or something. But anyways, we got the sound in. We're very happy.
Right.
Very accurate.
Very accurate. So people living in this area of Europe may recognize that sound.
Yes. Okay, so where are we off to?
All right, so we're going to move ahead, and what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the cutscene where the Resistance member makes his appearance. So head towards this crosswalk here. The cutscene will begin.
Okay.
All right, so as we continue on, next, this is also related to sound. But, this resistance member will come walking out, and you'll hear him whistling. And a lot of effort actually went into getting this whistle right as well.
Really?
People may not realize it, but, he has several whistling patterns.
Yeah.
Like if you're closer to him, he'll be a little bit nervous, maybe, may pause as he whistles, maybe sound a little bit more tense. If you get farther away, he kind of relaxes and does like a really loud, happy whistle. That was put in by request of, Mr. Kojima, who wanted to have really recreate the feel of stalking somebody and, having your target be a little bit nervous at times, comfortable at other times. So you could gauge, where he's going by the sound as well as your signal interceptor. Yeah, that was added, and the response was really good. So
I had a lot of players playing this game whistle the tune of the Resistance member because I didn't.
right.
You get into this gets into your head.
Yeah, it's pretty catchy.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Funny story about that whistling also is that the guy who actually recorded this whistling sound, and when he was whistling, like, it was really accurate, like perfect pitch and everything. But the sound guy said, it's too good because it doesn't sound like Resistance member. Resistance member isn't a musician, right? So he's not going to have perfect pitch for everything. So they had to do several takes to get the right sound, where it sounds like a normal person whistling rather than a musician whistling.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Can whistle.
Yeah, you can whistle.
Well, another point that I found out about this Eastern Europe stage is that it's so different from the past 2 acts that you have been playing. All of a sudden, you're in this environment of buildings and, well, basically you look different, right? With the code and everything and the young face look. And also I noticed that there's a lot of lights and kind of like living people behind each buildings.
Right, that was a conscious effort on the part of the development team because we really wanted to create, an empty town, a town that feels empty, but it's not deserted, it's not a ghost town. It's basically a town that's under curfew, so people are forced to stay indoors.
Yeah.
But, the people are still there, so you can see the lights on inside.
What do you call it? Martial law? Is it under martial law kind of?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So under martial law, and everybody's forced to stay inside, once it gets dark.
But when you go close to the windows or the doors, you could kind of actually feel there's someone kind of living behind that.
Right.
That was my second time when I thought I got real 5.1 and, good sound in there.
There's some people playing a game, right?
Basically, all these buildings actually have sounds emanating from them. People listening to different TV shows, radio shows, maybe playing games. And there actually is somebody playing the original MSX version of Metal Gear in here as well.
Cool.
So point that out a little bit later.
Okay.
All right. Well, of course, as you know, the real way you're supposed to play through this stage is to follow the Resistance member. And, the gameplay of this stage is a little bit different compared to all the other stages that you've played up to this point because there's never been a stalking mission. The point of the game is to follow this guy without him noticing you and without any of the PMC troops noticing you either. And, I think for a lot of people, this was really hard. I think it's one of those stages where you're either going to really love it or really hate it. I think, it's one of the stages that'll give you the most trouble if you're more of the run and gun type of person. But there is, actually like a hidden thing that you can do to make it a little bit easier that some people may not know about is if you manage to put, Laughing Beauty to sleep in the previous stage and you use that Laughing Beauty face camouflage, you can actually walk through the town pretty freely.
Oh, really?
Yeah. A lot of people do that. They'll switch back to the Octocam and, kind of like sneak through, hiding in the corners and things like that. But if you want to take the opposite route and keep this coat on, put on the face cam with the Beauty's face cam, you can actually walk pretty freely through the town. And when the PMC guards notice you, as long as you're not doing anything really suspicious, then maybe they'll tell you to stop and they'll come up and look at you and then they'll let you pass.
Oh, really?
So for people who are having a hard time, getting through this stage, that's something they may want to try.
Cool. Okay, so Sean, why don't you introduce us the route you're going to take this time?
All right.
So that the players could try to kind of have that route in their head.
Okay, so I think most players probably followed the Resistance member and went through the park, with the guy peeing in the park and heading to that route. But there's also a route that's probably less known, and it goes along the river that runs through this stage.
Yeah.
You follow the canals, and you get to the same point at the end, but it's a less traveled route. So I think today we're going to take that route and introduce people to places in the stage that they may not have seen before.
Okay.
All right, so the first thing we want to do is after you come out from this starting point, you want to head to that point where the Resistance member came out from. Okay, so that's kind of to the northwest, and you'll see it's basically, a dead end. And so people may be wondering, well, where did this resistance member come from? Did he just suddenly appear? Well, actually, if you look closely, at the end of this dead end, to your right, you'll see there's actually a duct on the ground.
Yeah.
And it heads to the north. The idea is that this is actually where the resistance member came from. And, the people who went to Eastern Europe to gather materials actually said they saw a lot of little ducts like this under the building.
Yeah.
And so they definitely wanted to put that in there somewhere. And so they decided to use it here to explain where the resistance member came from. And so what we're going to do is we're going to crawl into this duct and head north.
Okay.
Basically what you want to do as you go through this duct is just head straight ahead. Just keep on heading north. You can see the exit on the other side. If you go a little to your right, there's also an item in here. So you can pick up a PSS, which is, of course, a handgun. It's not a very great handgun, but the thing is you can sell it for a lot.